Texas A&M right now is ranked. They're right there at the end. We saw them drop the game early. You mentioned the neutral site game earlier, Arkansas, Texas A&M. You got to think whichever team comes out of this will be the ranked team, in the AP poll next week. How are you feeling for this game?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good for it, and I feel the way you feel, right? Like, does Arkansas deserve to be ranked? Like, what is A&M from a schedule perspective shown us to be ranked? I think that they have been able to put more complete games together. I think that plays a role when it comes to the rankings, but records wise, they're pretty much the same, and they've played similar competition. But when I think about this game for A&M, who I want to say has won at least the last two in the series, this is an opportunity to take advantage and build upon their last game, stack up another win, and start to build some momentum. What we're expecting to kind of see them grow in is going to be some of that passing defense, right? They have a strong pass defense right now, giving up 189 yards per game, top half in the SEC. Want to see what that pass defense can do against Taylor Green, who's coming off of a slower game last week despite the win.
Yeah. You want to see Texas A&M's defense continue to excel, because coming into the year, we were so high on what they could potentially be. And this Arkansas team isn't making it easy for defenses. We've seen some sloppy plays, some turnovers, whether that was the interceptions that changed momentum, a couple fumbles here and there. But what they're the best at, this Arkansas team in the country, they're one of the best in third down conversions right now, only behind UCF, Miami, TCU, and Ole Miss. They're right up there and staying on the field. And, Auburn was good at bottling up Jaquindon Jackson and not giving them those short and manageables. And they still got through, on 3rd 10s. We saw the 3rd and 19 that we talked about in the last episode. If you're A&M, you need to get off the field in this game. And bottling up Taylor Green is one thing, but once you get to 3rd and 10, you have to get off the field, because this Arkansas team is really good at keeping that alive.
Yeah, they're really going to keep it alive, and I think for Arkansas, the reason that they're able to do that is that three-headed monster, right? Taylor Green, Armstrong at receiver, and Jaquindon Jackson at running back. Jaquindon Jackson was slowed down last week to kind of lower that high average per carry that we had talked about in the recap, and so this could potentially be a bounce back game for him. When you look at A&M and their rush defense, that it could use some improvement, right? They're giving up about 129.8 yards per game on the rushing side, so that lends well to what Jaquindon Jackson can do, and hopefully for the sake of Arkansas, they can establish the run to control the tempo of this game and keep them in the game, right? I think every one thing I will say about Arkansas is that they've been in every game.
Yeah.
There's not been a game this season they haven't been in. And I've watched a good amount of Arkansas football in years past, and I understand where Sam Pittman's at. And I don't know if he's in that position because they couldn't stay in games, because they were in a lot of games, or they couldn't win them. But you got to feel good that every game this season, Arkansas has held a lead. They've been in the game. They've had points in the game where they've controlled the tempo. But we need to see it for the entire game. So less turnovers on the offensive side. Taylor Green had 2 turnovers last week. More rushing. We want to see that from Jaquindon Jackson. On the defensive side, this pass defense is dead last in the conference when it comes to yards allowed at 242. But it's being paired against A&M, we've seen improvement from Marcel Reed. But Hunter, tell us a little bit more about where they kind of rank when we look at the pass offensive side for A&M.
Yeah, I mean, for pass offense with A&M, they're spreading the ball around a little bit, but they don't have those big playmakers, right? Like, they're a team that Marcel Reed, 2 games in a row, has had pretty similar stats, just shy of 200 yards through the air. They just don't have really any game breakers. Only one wide receiver on their team over 100 yards right now, and that's Cyrus Allen. And a big chunk of that was that 73-yard touchdown that he broke off against Florida. So they haven't really been able to establish themselves in the pass game. They have that committee back led by Le'Veon Moss and are continuing to improve there. From a passing standpoint, they're just not as strong as they could be. But I think there's gaps in this Arkansas defense that they can continue to exploit. Auburn kind of shot themselves in the foot multiple times this game with bad reads, drop passes that led to interceptions. And Arkansas didn't do a whole lot with those turnovers, right? Like 5 turnovers, but they only won by 10 points. Like they were giving the ball right back, or they weren't scoring on the drives. So if you're A&M, the room for error is okay against this defense.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of room for error, but like I'm gonna go out here and boldly, definitively say this is the key to this matchup. On the Arkansas defense, their rush defense is top 4 in the conference, only giving up about 82.8 yards a game. But A&M's rushing offense is off the charts. Top 2 in the conference, top 8 in the nation. 258 yards per game on the ground. So that top 4 matchup defensively against this top 8 rushing offense in the country with Le'Veon Moss and Marcel Reed's feet now, if he plays in the game compared to Connor Wegman, that is going to be the deciding factor on if A&M wins this game or if Arkansas is able to keep their team in the game enough despite potentially any mistakes the offense makes or how efficient they make. If Arkansas's offense plays well, the rush defense does what's done, we see a complete game. Haven't seen that this season. But if both those things align, this is an easy game from Arkansas. If the defense it can show me what they did against Ollie Gordon, then this defense will look fine against A&M, right? But rushing wise, we'll see if A&M's offense can step up to the challenge to go against an opponent like this, which will probably be their second toughest opponent of the season.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for A&M to score in this game. Arkansas's defense is giving up a lot of chunk plays, like we saw from Keandre Lambert-Smith last week. Like I mentioned, they don't have that game breaker, but this Arkansas defense is liable to give up some deep plays. We have good safety play, but the cornerbacks have some, moments of weakness that A&M will be able to take advantage of. The A&M defense, on the other hand, you mentioned Taylor Green. We know what he can do on his legs, extending plays, getting out of the pocket. Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart are going to set those edges for him. We know the right side of Arkansas's line is a little bit weak, right? They've given up 12 pressures on the right side of that line from that tackle there. And, if you can keep Taylor Green in that where he has to become a pocket passer and not improvise, get out of the pocket, that's going to be some saving grace for the DBs there. You don't want to let him get around. You're playing chase down the field, and then he finds a guy open like they did last week. So get to the quarterback if you're A&M. And then for the offense on A&M, I think a key of the game is just keeping Marcel Reed clean. If you're the O-line, protect him. He's going to have to make some reads against this tough Arkansas defense from a scheme standpoint. Mm-hmm. And as long as he's making those proper reads, going through progressions, not throwing interceptions, it sounds easy, but that's going to be the key to the game for A&M. I think that they look strong in this one.
Yeah, and you talked about I think Nick Scorton, and he's going to play a good role in terms of the pass defense as well for A&M. And if they can bottle up Taylor Green, similar to what they were able to do in some ways to Riley Leonard, the other mobile quarterback they went against, this is A&M's game. If I'm going to make a prediction on this game, I think I've picked Arkansas for every game this season. So Woo Pig Suey, I'm running it back. I'm going to say 28-21 Arkansas.
Okay. Arkansas right now, 3.5-point dogs, 52.5, the over-under. I have A&M winning this one by a field goal at the end. We know they have that strong kicker, Randy Bond, there. I have him maybe kicking a deep one to save the overtime and taking it 27-24 A&M. That'd be a close spread depending on what your book has for the line.
Wouldn't be the first time that Jerry has experienced disappointment at his own stadium for his own alma mater or his own team. So,